again today. We will take 5 minutes to wait for more people to join in, and then we'll start. And professors. We'll be starting now since we're yet to have more people join us. I would like for Mr. or Miss Ogordi. I'm sorry, you were on the call yesterday. I'm not sure if you are a male or female. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Prof, can you hear me, sir?
we can hear you.
All right, sir. I would like for anyone who was on the call yesterday to please give us a recap of what we did yesterday, if there's anybody who would like to do that.
Give us what?
The recap of yesterday's session.
Okay. Let me also welcome all of us that are here this morning to the training today. Some of us have been here as early as 8:40 something. So we had a very busy day yesterday, and we quickly want to go over some of the things we did. We covered 3 modules yesterday. The first module was key concepts in peace and conflict management. And then the second module we covered is understanding conflict, while the third module is conflict communication and conflict management. Also, we had a session on experience sharing that was anchored by Ambassador Shegun Ogunyo. So, in all, we had 4 different sessions yesterday. 4 different sessions from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So, we like to know what were your take home. Each of us, what was the most striking things or some of the most striking things you had yesterday? So I'm going to start calling people as I see them on my screen. So the first person on my screen is Madam Elizabeth Anyu. Madam Elizabeth, what were the most striking things for you yesterday? After Madam Elizabeth, I have Madam Vacu. So, Madam Elizabeth, what were your take home yesterday? You can unmute. Please unmute yourself. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. outcome was identifying the dimension of peace, which was the hello.
We can hear you, ma.
Identifying the dimension of peace. You've talked about where we have to improve the quality of peace we enjoy with our relative, our friends, and others. And again, the communication in a conflict. I learned a lot in that aspect, how we can communicate with our loved one, colleague in the office. I think those two were the most striking things I took from yesterday. I don't really want to go into detail.
Thank you very much, madam. You are a wonderful woman. We appreciate
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next person is Madam Vacu.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm having issues with my network, so you won't be able to today. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we
I'm
can.
having network issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I can only see what.
But just go ahead. We can still hear you
the
now.
part that were like really striking to me that I like really understood was like the essential nature of conflict and how it's like really pervasive in relationships. Then also metaphors in conflict and how it like helps change the perception in conflict. Like it helps us like understand conflict better. And you also use the example of like conflict is like a pain in the body. Like I really understood that part. And also the why we have conflicts, like the causes of conflict, it goes beyond lack of trust, but then you went down to like human needs theory, political needs theory, transformative, and the rest. Then the stages of conflict. Yeah, I really understood a lot. Let me stop there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm done. I just said them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next on my list is Madam Olufemi Ogunubi. After her, Madam Naimi, and then Kamsi. Okay, so over to you, Madam Olufemi Ogunubi. What were the most striking things for you yesterday from the training? What really struck you? What were the things you learned that you consider very valuable to you? Thank you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yesterday, I learned about the communication skills.
Please, can you speak up?
We can hear you clearly, ma.
Okay, it's like we lost her. We can't hear her again. So let's Madam Naimi. Madam Naimi, what were the most striking things for you yesterday that you learned?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, can you turn on your video?
Pardon?
Can you turn on your video, please?
Oh, I'm using my laptop, so it doesn't really work.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, for me, the most striking thing has to be like the newest thing that I've learned. I've never really heard anywhere before. And that should be forms or types of violence. Like learning about direct violence, contextual violence, cultural violence, is it attitudinal? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Attitudinal. Attitude.
Yes. That was the most striking thing for me.
Okay. Thank you very much. The Kamsi, the Nwanu Kamsi, and after that, Madam Ogorti.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Thomas-Kilmann, and yesterday we did 3 modules, I believe so. Yeah, module 1 was talking about the key terms in conflict management. Then module 2, understanding conflict, and then module 3, which was my favorite module, was about communication and conflict. And what I really liked about that module was that communication can be the pillar upon which we can actually resolve conflict and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Madam Ogardi, and after her or him, we have Sefi. Okay.
Hi, good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good
I'm
morning.
Favor Body. So yesterday, what I was able to take home was the metaphors of conflict and how those positive metaphors can help reset the negative perception of conflict. Because basically, when I think of conflict, it's always negative. But then when you're understanding that positive metaphors can actually always correct the negative understanding of conflict, I have imbibed it in me that conflict is not always negative. Then another that I took home was that when we use coercion to dissolve conflicts, that it could always backfire, making it extreme. And then my favorite was actually communication and conflict management, because I got to understand that emphatic listening does a lot in resolving conflicts and even in maintaining relationships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we move over to Sefi. And after Sefi, Mr. Felix Ominimi. Sefi, are you there? Okay. Mr. Felix. If Sefi is not there. Okay. Mr. Ominimi Felix. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you now.
Hi, good morning. We can hear you.
Good morning. What I was able to pick from yesterday's training was the 4 peace dimensions. That is the state of being a person, quality of a relationship in relation to violence, and as a spiritual reality, because I've never heard about them before. So learning about it for the first time was really impactful. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yakubu, please. After Mr. Yakubu, we have Mr. Unjuka.
Mr. Yakubu is just joining the call. I think he's having network issues.
Okay, so, Mr. Unjuka then. Mr. Emmanuel Unjuka.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. What were the most striking things you learned yesterday out of the 10 sessions we had?
What were what, please?
The most
striking things, sir.
Okay, the most striking things is the metaphor, that is a conflict language, and also much about communication, because if communication is not well handled, it can even cause more harm than good when you are trying to manage conflict. And then I also find out that conflict is not all about negativity. There could be positive aspect of conflict. So out of
I think we lost Mr.
situation. Something good can also come out as part of every situation. So that's in summary of what I deduced yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yakubu, please could you tell us the most striking things out of the 4 sessions you had yesterday, please? Mr. Yakubu Dominic. Okay, thank you. Unmute yourself and tell us the most striking things for you yesterday. Mr. Yakubu, please unmute yourself. Maybe he's having, okay, thank you. Unmute and speak up.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, all. Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you.
sir,
Good
we can
morning.
hear you,
We can
sir.
hear
Good
you.
morning, sir.
My take home yesterday was that conflict is not always negative. Always have a hello.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, I think we lost Mr. Yakubu due to network, I guess. Okay, while waiting for him, let's call on Madam Bosede Akimbolushere. Madam Bosede, what were the most striking things we learned in the 4 sessions we had yesterday?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For me, it was the at least even though I was in between, it was the introduction, the awareness, around the conflict and the conflict solution, because I think there was a story you shared. There was yes, not a story, a case, something like that you shared that is an everyday thing. We can't escape it. I think it was I'm trying to fix the story in there. There's something the analogy we gave. So I think that was one of the things I picked at is getting to know that conflict, we normally think conflict with what happened at home. For some of us, we don't see it as conflict, kind of. The domestic or the in-house is like conflict is the one you have in the offices, you have with those who are not your family, kind of. That's one for me, it's bringing it up that even at home, there's conflict and there's a way to resolve, to resolve it, to go around it.
Thank you very much, ma. You are a great woman. Okay, Mr. Yakubu, are you back now? Okay. I think Mr. Yakubu is having network issues. I think everybody currently online, they have given us feedback. We are happy that many of us had 1 or 2 things to say about yesterday's program. It showed that we really took something away and we really participated very well. So now we are done with the recap. I want to turn the floor over to Jemima to introduce to us our facilitator for this morning session. So Jemima, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back again to today's session. Today we have someone very, very knowledgeable in the area that is going to be speaking about. We're going to be talking about today for this module. He's going to be discussing about responding to conflicts and conflict handling styles. Dr. Kayode George will be the one taking that, and let me introduce us to him properly. Excuse me. Yes. Dr. Kayode George holds a MA and PhD degrees in Peace and Conflict Studies from the University of Ibadan. He is a member and trainer of the ICMC and SPSS. He is the former HOD of the Department of Criminology, Security, Peace and Conflict Studies in Caleb University, the former director of JUPEB, Caleb University, former board member of the Entrepreneurship and Development in Caleb University. His areas of interest include youth involvement in conflict and conflict resolution, interreligious peace building, peace education, and mediation. Elmsman. Dr. Kayode George was also trained as an SPY police officer at the Police College in Ikeja, Lagos in 2002, and was decorated with the rank of Chief Superintendent of Police, CSP. Dr. Kayode George, thank you very much for being on here with us. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be part of this training program. And it's also a pleasure to know that yesterday's efforts were not wasted, that you got one or two things to remember as take-home. Thank you very much for that. It shows the level of participation of colleagues on this. We are going ahead with the program by discussing the topic, understanding conflict, management and handling styles. Now, it's also a pleasure for me to know that we have a different perspective of conflict now, unlike before. Sorry, okay. So I'm trying to share the screen with you now. So it's let me also remind us that conflict, as we have been told, is part and parcel of human beings, of our relationships. As we live together, we have to disagree on certain things at certain point in time. And so it is expected that conflict will occur in our day-to-day activities. But the way we handle conflict or respond to conflict matters a lot. And that is why we are registered for this program, to understand better the issue of conflict and how to resolve it. So today we are going to discuss how we naturally handle conflict when it occurs. But because of our understanding yesterday, we're probably going to be handling conflict differently from now and after now. Now, we respond to conflict each time it occurs, either at a small scale or a large scale, based on our natural instincts. And that's what makes us respond to conflict differently and at different occasions. Some psychologists came up with some handling styles which are based on our personality types. Kenneth, Thomas, they developed an instrument called Thomas-Kilmann Conflict Mode Instrument. They believe that people handle conflict based on a preferred style, and that preferred style is also based on our makeup, the way we were wired, and that's what psychologists call personality types. And before I share the screen, I'll talk about the life experiences. If we are born in an environment where we live with peace, we respect each other, that's how we're going to respond to conflict. But when we change environment to an opposite where there's chaos, in a matter of months or years, we're going to change the way we respond to conflict. I'll use myself as an example. I grew up in Ibadan anyway. In Ibadan, we don't like trouble. We go our own peaceful way. But Lagos was hard. So when I came to Lagos, it was a tough thing for me to relate with people. But over at sometimes, I learned how to harass at sometimes. At least if you harass me, I'll harass you again. So that's an experience for me. So I can also be peaceful at times like an Ibadan person. I can also be conflictual or problematic if it comes like that way. So that's experience. So life experiences also determine how we handle. Now, when we talk about personality types, we are talking about types of personality that psychologists came up with some time ago. So people who read psychology are very familiar with this. We have 4 different types of personalities, which is also called temperaments. So all of us as human beings have a very unique temperament that determines our actions, our response to conflict. There are 4. One is melancholy, choleric, phlegmatic, and sanguine. I will start with choleric. You can see on the right side, it will be on the left side now, extroverted. The choleric and the sanguine, they are extroverts, while the melancholy and phlegmatic, they are introverts. Extroverts are people who are outspoken, who we can say they are bold, they are up and doing, while introverts are people we call either reserved or peace and all that. But the choleric specifically, it's somebody who is quick to act. He is a natural leader, he or she. He wants to lead. He wants to be heard, he wants to be seen. He's quick to judge and is quick to anger and probably not forgiving. He demands what he needs and is aggressive about it. He's a goal getter. He does not mind who is offended while trying to get his goal. He wants to achieve his goal. Doesn't matter if he's offended or if he offends anybody or not. And he's an hero. He's ambitious. He has tall ambition. That's a choleric. Some people are like this naturally. Naturally, they're like that. That's the way they are wired. But the sanguine are also high on social activities. They like people, they are sociable. They delight in change, they want to change. They love and they forgive. They're innovative. They talk, and they also forgetful. That is the sanguine. The 2 first categories that we have talked about, they are extroverted. You can see they don't want to talk, they want to express. But the melancholy and the phlegmatic are not like that. Melancholy, for instance, are deep thinkers. They are poetic, they are analytical, they analyze and analyze. Everything must be based on reason. They don't want to make mistakes. Now, and they take things personally. They are easily offended. They are devoted and they are compassionate. They are thoughtful and they are reserved. Overwhelmed, they can work, they are workaholic. They have energy to work. And they are also anxious. Okay? They can be fearful. They can be very, very fearful. That's the melancholy. Now, the phlegmatic is a lazy person. He appears to be lazy. He's laid back. He's relaxed, but very peaceful. He's quiet and complacent. He's not easily moved. Okay? He loves to eat. He loves to swim. It's very difficult to motivate. He wants to do things at his own time, at his own space. You can't move him. Okay? But he's cheerful. He looks easygoing. He likes his own comfort zone. He avoids crisis. and is also a peacemaker. These are the 4 major temperaments we have among all human beings. And each of us have or has this type in us. Is anybody here who want to identify any of these 4 types that we have explained? Anybody wants to volunteer to tell us who you are? Are you a choleric? Are you a sanguine? Are you a melancholy? Or are you a phlegmatic? Anybody? Hello? Yes.
Sir.
Sounds good.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Owag.
Okay.
I think for me, from all that we said, I can see a mix of all in me. So it's not quite easy for me to say I am only melancholy or sanguine or any of them, because at a time each of those traits can come up. So I don't know whether I'm correct to have such a disposition, or I must have one so that I will start working on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christian. You are very correct. All of us have each part of this, a percentage of this in us, but one is dominant in us. And that is what we use to respond to conflict. Each time conflict occurs, we come across conflict. One is dominant in us, or introverted. So one will come up each time we have issues. So, and that is why we are able to adapt, because we also have others in us. So we're able to adapt to the other types of conflict handling styles. Anyway, having said that, so let me go back to our main screen. Yeah. So that's that. So the way we handle conflict is influenced by our different personality types. Either we are any of those 4 can come to play at any time, depending on our experiences, like I've said before. 5 major conflict handling styles that we all display. Now, what do we mean by this? You can either be assertive or you can be cooperative, but with different. To be assertive can be positive, can be negative. To cooperate through can be positive, can be negative. To be assertive in a positive way is to express what you need, express your position, express your interest without necessarily offending the other party. That is a positive assertiveness. For instance, a secretary that was given an assignment to do by her boss around closing time will, in a positive way, tell the boss, "Sir, this is my closing time, and I have a baby at home that I want to take care of. Can I take this job home or do it first thing tomorrow morning, because I need to go and attend to my baby now?" That's a positive way of asserting your position and your need. But the negative way can be, okay, you want to kill me? This is 4 o'clock. You know Lagos. You know this. I will be there. Whatever will be. That is negative assertiveness. You are certain that yes, it's your closing time, and there is no overtime policy. So you can be offensive with your assertiveness if you approach it in the wrong way, based on your personality type, if you are the expressing type, and you can also be positive, and such that your boss will say, "Madam, I understand you're working late. Kindly give me 10 more minutes, please." And you do it. That's okay. I will do that. After 10 minutes, you can go, oh, okay, madam, you can take it home and bring it tomorrow morning, or you can come early tomorrow to do it. You can get your needs done without necessarily offending the other person. That is positive assertiveness. The same thing happens to our attitude to cooperation. We can cooperate with people neglecting our own need, and that is negative. But you can cooperate with people attending to their own need as well as your own need. That is positive cooperativeness. So the 5 handling styles are also depend on these degrees of assertiveness and cooperativeness. So the styles we are going to be discussing today are avoiding, accommodating, compromising, competition, and collaboration. I'll take them again. Avoiding, accommodating, compromising, competition, and collaboration. Now, when conflict occurs suddenly, or we see it coming, we do any of these 5 initially. That's our first handling styles, the way we handle it. And like we have been told that conflict that happens, it does not really matter as how we respond to it. So if we respond in a negative way, then it will give us a negative outcome. But if we respond in a positive way, it will give us a positive outcome. So let's now go into details of the conflict handling styles. Now, the handling styles emerge from the Western cultural context. We can skip that. There's also another one that is a traditional African conflict management, which is Ubuntu, which we'll talk about after the 5 popular styles. So we'll talk about it one by one now. As we can see, the avoiding, we also call it avoidance. It's a matter of convenience. Avoiding or avoidance is pictorial, given the tortoise picture. You can see the tortoise there to depict avoidance. Why did we use tortoise or snail? They can crawl back into their shell when they are unstable, when they're not pleasant. Either the weather is harsh, there's an attack, there's an unfavorable condition, they withdraw into their shell. And that's what we do when we avoid conflict. When we avoid conflict, we do a few things. We can delay our reaction, we can dodge, we can evade, okay? We can postpone our reaction, we can keep quiet, we can shut the door and go away, we can keep malice, we can, when we see somebody we have conflict with, we're coming across on the path, we can present as if we're having a phone call, say hello, hello, and you turn the other way and go away. That's avoidance, okay? We can avoid to pursue our own belief, what we need, our position, our interest. We can avoid to pursue it. We don't insist, we don't assert our, and that's what we do by avoidance, okay? And again, we don't also pursue the interest of the other party. We just leave the matter unresolved, unattended to. We call it sweeping the dust under the carpet. Okay, that is avoidance. We have people here, okay? So when we avoid, this is what's one, we assume that the conflict issue is trivial. We also assume that we don't have the time to talk about it or to confront it. Sometimes we need more time to think about it. And sometimes we feel that we have no chance to win the argument or the conversation, or we are afraid to meet with resentment. We are afraid of receiving a no as an answer. So we avoid. But sometimes avoidance might also be good when we have nothing to lose in the conflict. After all, what I have feet on the carpet. So that's what we do when we avoid. Go on to the next slide. I would need one or two people to tell us what we also do when we avoid conflict or avoid someone that we have conflict with. I've mentioned keeping malice, talking on the phone as if we are receiving the phone call and walking away. So what else do we do practically when we avoid conflict? This is what we all do from time to time. So let's have one or two people to give us their own experiences when they avoid conflict.
Sir, if it's when you're like having a conversation on it, you can avoid the subject or change it.
Thank you very much. You can change the topic stylishly. You can change the topic or avoid talking at all. Thank you very much. Some he or she does, or what he or she has observed somebody has done in the past to avoid conflict.
Sir.
Yes.
You can avoid.
Hello. Oh, sorry, network.
By
another person,
away.
Please. Okay, by walking away from the.
I said you can avoid by walking away.
Okay, walking away from the scene of the conflict, or from the environment of the conflict. Okay, that's okay. One more person before we go on.
Well, good morning. Well, it depends on the person in question, depending on the relationship. I might accommodate at times, accommodate and overlook.
You can overlook. That's a good one. You can overlook. Yes. You can overlook. That's fine. Okay, thank you very much. But I know, they say there's a limit to human endurance. I'll tell you a story. I was discussing this in one of our classes at the part-time school, and a man told me that he lived in an estate, and he had an issue with a lady, a co-estate resident, and for 1 year they kept malice. For 1 whole year they kept malice. They avoided. They walked away. So somehow they met in a restaurant or supermarket 1 year exactly after they avoided each other. The lady said, "Uncle, in Yoruba, let's go back to our friendship." You know what I mean? I'm tired of fighting. Let's resume. Let's go back to our friendship. The same thing the man told him. So we cannot pursue avoidance for too long because we are sweeping the matter under the carpet. And you know, when you sweep under the carpet, that portion of the carpet will begin to increase and increase and increase until sometimes there will be an outburst. So what are when we are, number one, we are not assertive enough. Our level of our assertiveness is very, very low. We don't assert, we don't insist, we don't talk about our need, our position, we just leave it unattended to. Then our level of cooperation is also low. Our level of self-value is also low. The way we value the relationship is also low. And so the outcome all the time is lose-lose. You lose, I lose. I lose, you lose. So this is the features, the outcome of avoidance. And we're talking about a positive outcome that will give us that leverage to keep on relating with the other person that we have conflict with. So avoidance perceive conflict as a hopeless thing to do, exercise, and so it must be avoided. That's the point. So that's one way that we handle conflicts naturally when it happens, based on our natural instincts. The second one, does anybody have any question about that before I go on? Any question or any comments? Okay. The next one is accommodating.
I have a question.
Okay, what's the question, sir?
So, sir, you mean that avoidance is only temporary because it will solve the dispute with it? Because I
Yes,
mean,
it is temporary. It is temporary. It's not solve. It's not solve the problem. Yes, you know, yesterday we talked about communication. So avoidance means no communication. You are not You are not communicating your displeasure. You are not communicating your whatever you want. You just avoid it. It may be okay in some instance, but for a while, that's avoidance. But some people, that's their major way of handling conflict. And in this training, we are encouraged to unlearn what we have learned and learn what we have not learned before. So it's about learning and unlearning so that we can become a better person in the society and our society can be a better one. Thank you very much. Any other question or comments?
Okay, Dr. K.
Yes, okay.
Please go ahead. After you, I will come in.
Okay, for instance, maybe if I was walking on the street and somebody offend me or something, and then I just looked at the person and walk away, I think that's a permanent solution to that kind of situation than to confront the person. Yeah.
Okay. Like somebody said, it depends on the kind of relationship between you and the person.
Mm-hmm.
If it's somebody you're going to be meeting each other day, you can't avoid totally.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody you just meet me in the bus, in the train station, in the aircraft, you're not likely to meet them again. So why pick up issues with them?
Yeah.
So we just have to be strategic, and we're talking about strategy management strategy. So look at what you need. I mean, we talk about relationship, even in the avoidance. What's your relationship like? Is it a continuous one? If it's continuous, like a family, you can't. I mean, as long as you work in that company, you can avoid somewhat for as long as you are there. So that's we have to think about the relationship and the time we have to respond to that conflict. Thank you. Prof.
Thank you very much, sir. In fact, that's what I wanted to explain, that we are not saying avoidance is terrible, but we are saying that if somebody has or uses avoidance as his default conflict handling style in all conflict situations, is not good. But there are certain instances, like the example given by Mrs. Annie, that you have to avoid. Like Dr. Peggy said, if the relationship is not, maybe you don't have a relationship with such a family, or it's not a valuable relationship, or that thing is something you can even overlook. Please.
Thank you, Prof.
Hello. Okay, I think somebody.
We move on to. Okay, somebody want to talk?
No, I want to mute someone. Someone's background is making noise, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that's the point. Thank you very much, Dr. K.
So we move on to accommodating. When we accommodate, we tend to forsake our own desires in exchange for others. In summary, we accommodate others' needs and interests over and above our own. Just from the word accommodation, you are looking for where to stay. So people, we accommodate people's. I mean, some people say, I can live with anybody. It's just to wake up and sleep. It doesn't matter. I mean, we call it accommodating. Now, when it happens, we give in easily in the name of peace. Such person cannot sustain discussion for a appreciable long period. They easily get tired of discussion or argument. So they give in. They are not very good in negotiation. Okay. But this style is appropriate when we care about the issue, when we want to keep peace, when others care more about the issue, when others care more about the issue and we don't really care about the issue. when we want to maintain peace, in the name of peace, when we have no choice but to agree with the other's point of view. Now, this is depicted with the picture of a teddy bear that we keep in our houses. A teddy bear is so accommodating that whatever you do to it, it doesn't complain. Either you hit it, you hug it, you wash it, you iron it, you open it, it doesn't complain. And what we are seeing, there are people who, this is a default way of handling conflict. Whatever you do to them, it's okay by them. They have no opinion, it's your opinion. This style of handling conflict is unassertive. They don't ascertain their position, their interests, and their need. I hope we know that conflict management is all about position, interest, and needs. What you want, what you need, and your interest. So this category of people do not ascertain their position. And so the level of assertiveness is low. They are high on cooperation because they want peace, and they want others to have the opinion, so they cooperate easily. They don't have self-value. Self-worth is low. They don't value relationship. Okay, they value relationship above their own self-value, self-worth. The outcome will be such person will lose, the other party will win. A classical example of this kind of people are people we employ as house help, as drivers, who always don't have a very low opinion about themselves, who even feel obliged by being employed as house help, as gardeners, and all that. So they easily cooperate. Say, anything you say, sir. Anything, you are correct, sir. All correct, sir. But all cannot be correct if you have genuine interest and genuine needs that must be met. All cannot be correct. So so they want to preserve the relationship. They want to maintain the job. They want to be sacked. So they say yes, sir, to a guy at all times. So they ignore the issue and they want to keep peace at their own expense. At their own expense. So that is a compromising fellow. Do we have anybody here who is like that, who compromises at every occurrence of conflict? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You have the floor.
I tend to do that quite a lot. I'd like to avoid confrontation. So oftentimes I look for the best ways to compromise or generally just avoid that situation if I can.
This is accommodating and not compromise. I still coming to compromise.
Oh.
This is where you don't assert your opinion, where you value others' opinion above your own, where you don't assert you allow people to win at that time and you lose.
Yes, it does happen. Sometimes with people older than me, sometimes with my mates who I feel like maybe in that particular time they may not see that they're wrong. So I just allow them take that.
So how do you feel afterwards, after you have lost that situation?
Sometimes I do not feel good about it because oftentimes it's something that could have been easily resolved if they were willing to listen or maybe just calm down. But I take into consideration what may be going through their head at that particular time. Is it that they're not understanding me properly? So I just let them have that particular moment and see if we can revisit it later to try and sort it out.
It's okay. Thank you very much. We'll come back to that. Jemima Akitominde, you have the floor, please.
I was the one that just spoke, sir.
Okay. What about Madam Nora Ndasule?
Yes. Thank you. I accommodate a lot when that's my spouse. You know, there's just for the sake of peace, you just accommodate and allow things go. Then also maybe with a senior colleague in the office. I think that these are the areas that I usually.
So how do you
tend to
normally
accommodate.
feel each time you accommodate?
Well, at times it lingers in my heart for a very long time, but I don't know. I don't feel too good. I don't feel too good about it. But after some time, the time will heal, and I will just let it go.
And that time you say also accommodate again, and that cycle continues. Letting go, feeling bad, or getting over it, letting
Not
go.
every time.
Okay.
Not every time.
Okay, not every
Not
time. That's
every
fine.
time. Not every time. Yes.
That's fine.
There are
Yeah.
times you just have to loosen up and talk.
Okay. Okay.
But for the
But do
peace of
you have anybody in this group that is on the other
Yes.
side of accommodating, who's also the winning, who somebody's accommodating all the time? Then do you have anybody like that in the
Yes,
group?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's have your opinion, please.
Okay. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I'm also someone that accommodates. I am
Okay.
in that part. I would say most times just for the sake of peace, letting go for my own interests. But it's really not easy, and it can make you look stupid sometimes. And people think you don't know, you don't really know it. Most times, I think there was a time I had to let go something, and somebody called me and said, "See, it's like you are doing it to please people, and at the long run, it was not even valued or appreciated. It was now beginning to look like it's a weakness on your part." So most times when you accommodate, it's good for the sake of peace, but also you also have to put your own self first. So
Okay.
accommodation, it's really just for peace to reign, and it doesn't
Okay.
favor the other person. Makes you look weak. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comment. That is it. We all spoke about preserving the relationship and keeping the peace, which is the main focus of the people who accommodate at their own expense. Thank you very much. When we get to the other part, we'll handle it. Now, the next type is compromising. This is people that compromise. They sacrifice part of their goal and persuade the other party to also sacrifice part of their goals. Want same from the opponent in order to get a middle ground. They are conscious of the fact that in this matter, I have a need. The other like to ask the other person, what do you want in this matter? This is what I will. So they can both agree at a middle ground, which make them to lose some and win some. So this is appropriate when we want to reach a solution. Do something, we need to agree on something on the way to go ahead, to forge ahead. When there's an impasse, a stalemate, and the solution is always temporary. So people hurriedly agree so that they can move ahead, and it's not a total solution, but it's just in the meantime. So that is compromising. The compromise here and there. So we call it a middle ground style. And so the features of this style is that assertiveness on the part of the two parties is moderate, cooperation is moderate, self-value, self-worth is moderate, relationship value is moderate. The outcome is a win, body wins all. It's not a matter of winner takes all. Okay, so it's a middle ground. Moderately assertive. They don't assert all the time. They don't cooperate all the time. So they just want the middle way. They work together. They ask questions and they move on. More especially in an official task, when you have deadlines to achieve at official meetings. So we quickly agree on things. Not that you are too pleased with the solution, but at least to meet the client's deadline so that you can submit the proposal to the client. So quickly agree and move on. That's compromise. Okay. Do you have any comment or question about that? About compromise?
So that animal, it doesn't look too familiar. It's kind of confusing. The animal representing compromise.
Hello?
The animal representing compromise.
It's not confusing, sir.
I didn't get. Is it a fox or I don't know? I didn't hear when you.
It's a fox. It's a fox.
Fox.
All right. Thank
you.
you.
Look at the attitude of a fox. That's what they do. So that's about compromise. I think a lot of people do this, especially in office matters, in church issue, compromise, so that you're happy, I'm happy. And so that's about that. Does anybody have a question or comment on this before we move on? It's okay, Madam Nora. Madam.
Yes, sir. I'm not raising hands, but
okay.
Yes, I'm not raising hands. Okay.
Yeah, the next one is competing or forcing. Some people call it fighting. Competing. The group of people are always firm. They take a firm position, a firm stand to see the point of view of the other party. Any concern for or at the expense of the other party, we can call them oppressors. They push their opinion, their viewpoints, and reject other people's ideas until they get their way. It involves gaining and using power, either of position or expertise or age or rank and all that, to press the opponent into submitting or surrendering their demand. Talking about my experience in Lagos when I first came to Lagos. This is what I noticed that when I came, I was living in Motion then. So each morning you have people shouting. Everybody wants his voice to be heard. He say all those things. Why? Who will now be right? Who will be wrong? So they keep competing and forcing the other person to submit to their own opinion or to their own idea. This is competing. And this is the way some people are naturally. Okay? However, this style could be appropriate when we have to stand for our rights or when it comes to the issue of morals or integrity. This style can be positive when we have to make the decision quickly. So we need to force others. Like I said the other time, as the managing director or the leader of a team, you need to decide on a project and there's no time left. You just have to insist on this is the way we are going. When you have too many opinions, people say, okay, all right, this is the judgment. So you can decide for the meeting to move on. And so when you need to end a long-term conflict, it's a conflict that has been lingering for a long time, there seems to be no solution, then somebody with a position of power and authority can come and enforce decision on the parties. Then we want to decision from opposition. We can also be decisive. This talk about being decisive at the appropriate time. But it comes with being aggressive, being autocratic, intimidating. Okay. And the features of this style are very, very high. They are such. Cooperativeness, they are very low. They don't care about cooperation. Self value is very high. They have very value for relationship, and it ends in the win and the opposition loses. Do we have anybody in this category or anybody that has an experience in this category? Yes, comment please.
Yes. Sir, like maybe in your place of work where you have some lazy junior staff and they've been missing deadlines and things like that. And when you are firm, you understand, and maybe enforce consequences, do we call that compete?
Well, like we said, conflict happens everywhere. The one you are talking about, it becomes a conflict when a deadline is at stake.
Okay.
It becomes a conflict. Somebody is lazing around, the job is not being done, and you are likely to lose the contract. It becomes a conflict.
Okay.
It becomes a conflict. If you have agreed, if you have agreed, Friday is the deadline, and as Thursday evening, somebody was supposed to submit by 4 p.m. He's not submitting. He's not even halfway done. It's a conflict. So the manager will have to assert authority. You must do it before you go home. Okay, that's a conflict. So any other comments, please?
And the method of being firm on that staff, does this now make it complete? Is it complete? We're on complete now. Is it compete? Sorry.
Compete.
Method, yes.
Again, it depends on the relationship. If between a husband and a wife, either the wife or the husband in most cases is forcing.
Okay.
Or the wife sometimes is forcing. It becomes negative. But if it's to achieve an official goal,
okay.
Of course, that's just one of. And let me tell you an instance when I was not. We were recording for Knock Cubes TV advertisement, and the cameraman of the lady that was supposed to not now, she was to cry on screen while we were recording to depict crying during the commercial. She was not crying enough. The cameraman, Uncle Steve, left the camera on, came down from the ladder, and slapped her intentionally, genuinely. She cried. All of us were shocked. Say, well, I go what I normally, naturally. Afterwards, he gave her a 5,000 naira compensation. If I didn't slap you, I won't get results. So this is forcing. But it won't work all the time for that person. But for that purpose, it worked. Of course, there's no relationship between them. After that recording, they might not meet again. So every of this that we're discussing is dependent on the relationship and the interests of the parties. Sorry, any other comment, please? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, any other comment before we go on to the next one, which is collaborating? Okay, The next one is collaborating or cooperating. This is the fifth one. In collaboration, parties tend to find solutions that would meet the needs of all the parties. It sees conflict as problems to be jointly solved. We call it joint problem solving, JPS. Parties are matured enough to see the conflict as the outcome, to see the interest as to see the outcome as the outcome, relationship as a relationship. So it looks for a solution that satisfies, and it ends up being a win-win, which we call it 50-50 solution. No winner, no loser. Everybody wins. One, which is compromising. I'm able to win substantially, and you're also able to win. It's a win-win. We both laugh at the end of the day. It's not a middle ground. This calls for an in-depth discussion, analysis of the conflict, of the issues, not a quick solution. No, it may take time to achieve, but the outcome is enduring, it's long-lasting. It doesn't give up. The self-value is still there, but it digs into the issue to identify the underlying concerns. So to dig and dig, like the onion conflict analysis method. I don't know if you, when you have the tomato paste inside the donut and the onion, you have to, and layers of the onion or the donuts is sugar in donuts. Next is the brown cover. That is very plenty. Then the tomato paste inside, which is the sweet thing. That sweet thing is the solution. So you have to unravel all the sugar coating, the brown, the white, get to the middle, the real cause of the conflict, not assumptions, but the real thing, the real views. For instance, in the situation between a couple, where I believe all of us are mature there, where the main issue is sex, for instance, it is difficult for a woman to open up to a man, say, I'm in the night at home. So they will be saying other things that are not relevant to sex. It's to this, it's to that. But when we are sensible enough to know that this might not be the issue, they're just sugar coating the issue. So we go beyond the sugar coating, the brown coating, and the white inside. And now, okay, so it is this matter. Okay. So that is collaborating. And it takes time to achieve. So when we do this, it's appropriate when multiple perspectives needs to be addressed, multiple views. You discuss all the views. It is important to relationship between the parties. Solution 2 is important to anyone and everyone involved. If it's in a family, it's the in-laws and to everybody. And all the stakeholders will have to be represented. They are both, anybody that is collaborating, they are assertive and they are cooperative. But the assertion is positive. Their cooperation is positive. They don't assert to offend the other person. They don't cooperate to offend themselves. So the assertion and cooperation are both positive to themselves, to each other, and to the relationship. So they want to listen to other people's views. They want to empathize, not sympathize. Okay. And so the features are that in assertiveness, they are very high. In cooperativeness, they are also high. In the value of self-value, self-worth, they are very high. Value of relationship to them and to the other, they are very high. And so the outcome will naturally be I win, you win, 50-50 outcome. That is collaboration, joint problem solving. We jointly sit down to solve the problem, look for the options available, look for what will work, what will not work, and arrive at a mutually agreeable solution to the conflict. So that is about collaboration. Do you have any comments or questions? Hello? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can hear
Okay.
you, sir.
So I can go on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Quick, let me pause a bit and ask. Now, can we try to merge these handling styles and the personality types that we discussed at the beginning of the discussion? What will, for instance, a choleric do in most cases? Is it going to collaborate? Is it going to confront? Is it going to avoid? Let's have comment on this. What will a sanguine do most of the times? Is it to avoid? What will a phlegmatic do most of the time? Is it to avoid, to collaborate, to fight, to compromise, to accommodate? Any comments? Okay, okay, Mr. Omenini Felix, you have the floor, please. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think for the choleric, since they are people that are quick in action, natural leaders, quick to judge, I think they will opt for competitive, like competing. They will put their interests before the interest of any other person. So they win and the other parties in the conflict will lose.
Oh, yes, that's fine. That's fine. So I'm sure as we're talking, as we're discussing, you can think back and look at what we have passed through in the past and see what has happened between you and the choleric. Somebody wants to collaborate, somebody wants to join problem solve, somebody wants to compete, somebody who is avoiding. You can now begin to see others and ourselves in a relationship with other with conflict. So any other comment? Okay. Mr. Vaku, sorry. Is it Mr.
Yes,
Vaku?
sir.
Okay, sorry, madam. All right.
Yes. So for the choleric, since they're like individuals that tend to be like goal oriented and like very assertive, they may prefer to like take like a more confrontational approach to conflict resolution. Why for the sanguine, since they're like more sociable and they may prefer like the collaborative approach.
Okay.
Like since they like focus on like maintaining harmony and like just avoiding the whole tension thing. Then for the phlegmatic, since they are known for like their whole calm and easygoing nature, they may like choose the like accommodating approach. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So, all right, please, I'm sharing my screen, so I won't be able to see if you have raised your hand. Please, just talk if you want to talk. I will be listening to you. Okay, Ene Oko, Joy. You can unmute, please. Hello. Okay. Like we have said, all these styles are the way we human beings all over the world handle conflict each time we come across a situation of conflict. And we also said that none of them is particularly handle conflict. That for at some instance, one might be necessary to adopt. And so we have to learn. I mean, you also said that because of our natural makeup, we are likely to adopt one most of the time. And so the lesson here now is to try to adjust, to adopt other methods based on the issues, relationships, our own interests. So if we have been an avoider all along, I mean, this discussion is telling us to unlearn avoidance all the time and learn other parts that could also work. But out of them all, collaboration seems to be the one that works best at all times. But because of time and the issues, we may not have the luxury of time all the time to begin to look for the reasons, the thing and all that. We just want to have a quick solution. So we adopt confrontation, compromising just for a while, and we still go back to collaboration if the relationship is what we are after. Okay, for instance, in my church in one time, I remember now, a guy was into inverter. So he did inverter for somebody who is a Muslim. Okay, it wasn't inverter. He took a taxi. The Muslim, the taxi driver was a Muslim, and the guy is my church member. So they agreed to take him to a location. But along the line, there was a traffic at Ketu, and the driver said, "I can't go ahead again." And the boy said, "Okay, I won't pay your money. I said you should come to the school. You have to stop me at Ketu." So he didn't pay. But the church, the taxi driver came to the church to report him. And the pastor, seeing that the taxi driver is a Muslim, will not want an issue. Called the boy, said, "Please go and pay him his money." He wanted to talk. Pastor said, "No, don't talk. Just go and pay him." He was furious. He came to me. I said, "Don't worry. Pay him the money. Now go back to the pastor." I said, "Sir, I've paid him, but I think you should listen to me. I have something to say." So we went back to the pastor after paying. That was the quick solution. Compromise. He paid. Then went back to the pastor. Said, "But sir, I want to say something. I think you should listen to me too. I'm your member." He told him what happened. The pastor said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that's what happened. He's a Muslim. I don't want anybody to blackmail us as a church. That's why I enforce you. This is force now. Forcing to pay him." He came back to adopt collaboration. Oga, let us sit down and discuss the matter. The pastor apologized for forcing him to comply at that time. Of course, he was also happy that the other drivers were happy. So we may delay, we may defer collaboration to another time to get an instant solution in the name of peace or for time of relationship or for image. Okay. Any comments before we take the other one that's not part of the 5? All right. The other one is Ubuntu, which the term is an African terminology from the Bantu family of languages. So can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The other one that is not mentioned is not where they are Western. They're developed by Western people, but this is African, Ubuntu. And the complete saying is Umuntu, Ungumuntu, Ungabantu, which means that a person is a person through other people, or in the shortened form, I am because we are. You are because I am. You know, Africans, we live as a community. That's the way we were before the Europeans came. We were a community. There was no fence then. There was no fence in our houses. So it talks about the collective personhood, the communal living, the humanness, the spirit of humanness, the compassion we have for one another, and the goodness we show to one another. The underlying philosophy is that human nature can only be realized through relationships. In Africa, we relate very well. During Christmas, during Salah, we share food, we share meat, and all that, take to one street to the other. That is the communal living. And this is the African way of living. And so Ubuntu brings to bear the belief in God as the supreme being, who oversees, who superintends over all, both the living and the dead. And so in conflict management, we still refer to that supreme being to superintend over our matter. Sometimes animals and plants are also used in conflict management. We invoke the spirit of the dead in the African traditional conflict management method. We invoke the spirit of the dead, spirit of the parents, of this and that. And so, and because we still believe that the dead are still with us, we invoke that spirit to help us resolve this conflict. So the African method is the communal method, which makes it difficult for us to conflict, which makes it easy for us to manage our conflicts very well in the name of community, relationship, and continuity. So in the Ubuntu concept, conflict is seen as a disturbance to the peaceful order of society. And so conflict handling style presumes that in the Ubuntu style, that a conflict party understands that he or she is a small
in the
part
afternoon, yeah. Have you been?
Hello. We believe that the conflict party understands that he or she is a small party to a collective whole, and we are not supposed to be the one that will affect the collective whole negatively. So we try to manage conflicts amicably in the African way, and that's the Ubuntu. So the Ubuntu that some people say, call it Ubuntu. You are because I am. I am because we are. Without us, I cannot be. Okay, and that's the spirit. And that's the African spirit. That's the Ubuntu spirit, Ubuntu language. So the features are that in assertiveness, it is high. In collective goodism, it is high. In cooperativeness, it is high. Value of self-worth is high. Value of relationship is high. Communal living is high. Then the outcome is we all win. I win because we win. And that is why in the African conflict method of resolving conflict, there's a celebration after the solution. Sometimes the market square, under the tree, in the King's Palace, when they want to resolve a very serious matter, they call everybody to come and resolve the conflict. The two parties will bring food and drinks. After this resolution, everybody will eat from the food that the two parties have brought to symbolize restoration of peace in the community. So we all win. I win because we win. You are happy, I'm happy. All of us are happy. That is Ubuntu. That is Ubuntu. And that is Africa. So do we have comment about that from our traditional settings, instances, examples, stories that you can share with us? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear it, sir.
Okay. Anybody from Anambra, from Oyo, from Ogbomoso, from Zamfara, from Ghana, to tell us how the Ubuntu spirit works? Okay. We all know Sonny Ade. He sang a song, Koleshe Kija Mawao. Tijabade o, Silo Yaka Parie o, Koleshe Kija Mawa. So, what it means is that there will always be conflict. And when conflict comes, we should resolve it. we should, that's the Ubuntu language. We should resolve it. I don't know how many of us will remember when our president now was governor of Lagos State, and Mrs. Koforola Akerele Bokno was deputy. They had issues then. Then the mama, the market woman leader then, called them to her house, and she said, Bola Fakofo Mora, Kofo Fabola Mora. That means Bola embrace Kofo, Kofo embrace Bola. Let us end this conflict. That is the African spirit. If the two of them are at peace, Lagos will be at peace. Society will be at peace. So if two people are having issue in the community, that community will feel the pain of the conflict because we live together as one. We feel for each other. So that's the Ubuntu spirit. Now, so we will now go into conflict management style. These are how we handle conflict. Now, how do we turn them to strategies to manage conflict? How do we turn these styles, we have mentioned 6 now, into strategies to manage conflict effectively well? One, we need to first identify our own default handling styles based on our own personal temperaments. If we are a choleric, for instance, we are prone to confront. So we need to accept that I'm a choleric, I'm a sanguine, I'm an attacker. Like J.J. Okocha, I want to score goals at all times. Doesn't matter who I'm dribbling or who is wounded. The goal is to score, is to put the ball in the net. So we have established that. We also need to know the style of the other party. This, my Obga, is a socialite. He doesn't care. He just likes people. And so people will take advantage of him. So under the secretary, how do we manage that so that when conflict comes, we can help him? When we have conflict with him, for instance, you can, okay, is this, is that. So the strategy now is that let me reduce my own, or let me help him to increase his own, so we can meet as collaborators. So it means if I'm the attacker, I have to reduce my attacking when we want to resolve conflicts. I have to reduce my insisting on having my way. I have to ask, what do you want? How do we resolve it? Most of the time, the person will tell us, Chibi, you'll be having your way. Talk now. And no, that was past. This is new me now. What do you want? So we'll sit down together and resolve it. That's the strategy part of it. So we need to know our own type. We need to know the other person's type. Sometimes we might have to adopt the other person's type to boost their ego, to boost their sense of value, so that they can equate with us. Okay, that's one. Now we need to also know the one we use most frequently and how it works for us, and what are the consequences over time. If we have been avoiding, and we are feeling bad each time and again, and we all know it's not good for our health. So we need to change a little bit and learn to also collaborate, sometimes confront, sometimes accommodate, sometimes compromise. Okay. Okay, so part of the strategy discussion is also based on the issues, like I was saying, the issues, relationship, the power relation, the time. We also help us to determine what we will adopt each time. If the issue is of more relevance, we choose what is relevant in that instance. If relationship is more relevant, we try to maybe avoid or compromise. If it's power, we need to adopt, we need to understand and to apply the one that is appropriate based on the issue, relationship, the power, the time, and the outcome we expect. Okay. So if it's the issue, we need to know the extent the conflict will involve important priorities, principles, or values. We need to identify the priorities, the principles, or values of each other. That's the issue. If it is the relationship, we need to understand that we need to maintain a close relationship. We need to support each other, support relationship. So if it's power, we need to know, understand the power balance. Am I too powerful? Is he too powerful? Like boss, subordinate, boss, husband, wife. We need to weigh the power and maintain a balance. So we need to maintain a balance of power. If you are the one who has the superpower, plus power, we need to learn how to balance it. I like storytelling because it makes the lesson be more understandable. When I was in secondary school, we had these two outside guys from northern parts, Yam and Maida, and we all of us have an attitude to make jest of, to denigrate people from other part of the country that were not our own. We talk about them, we make jest of them. And so these guys were in class 2, and they had seniors in class 5. They used to laugh at them, make jest of them, Yam, this, that, and they wouldn't talk. So one night during holiday, very many students have gone home. They won't go for holiday because of the distance. They will stay in school. So in the night, he woke his senior boy that was serving. Oga, stand up. Our fight for afternoon. Oga, stand up. Our fight for afternoon. So in the afternoon, they molested him. They joked with his name. It's outside. They don't have anything. They don't do anything. They are this, like that. He didn't talk. He just woke him up. Oga, our fight for afternoon. So by the time the man woke up, he saw Maida with dagger, and there were just two in the room. Say, our fight for afternoon. We could finish her now. He was just waking up. He's unprotected. He's unprepared. But his colleagues who were in the other rooms were eavesdropping what was happening in the room. So they forced the door open, and they saw their colleague. The other guy is not colleague. I'm sorry, sir. Maida, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You are my mother's husband. You are this, you are that. For too long, Maida has been oppressed. He has been reduced to nothing. So he reacted in that instance. And since that day, the whole school stopped laughing at Yama Maida, and they back. So if we are desirable of a good outcome, they need to manage their conflict very, very well. Okay. Then, when we still talk about strategy, we need to determine which technique is most suitable to a particular conflict situation. Like I said before, we need to determine if we need to confront at this time. So it can't be one at all the times. So the major thing is for us to know that we cannot continue being an avoider all the time. We cannot continue to be a confronter all the time or a compromiser all the time. That we need to also adopt other styles with each conflict situation coming up. Now, if it's to avoid, it would be good to avoid when there's a clear advantage to waiting to resolve the conflict, so we can avoid tomorrow. If it's still going, it's going to come back, no problem. So it's an advantage, just like let me set an example. Like walking away will be good when it's advantageous to us to avoid, so that we will not be attacked. We can walk away. So it's an advantage for us to do that. When the conflict is small and the relationship is at stake, we can also avoid. When we are upset and we need to cool off, that is very good. We can also avoid. When we have more important issues to deal with, we can avoid. When we have no power and we see no chance of getting our concerns met, we can avoid. When we are too emotionally involved and others around can solve the conflict more successfully, we can keep quiet and let the other person talk. Like a Yoruba proverb, the Dada Oleja, the Dada cannot fight, but he has a junior colleague, junior sister or brother who is very bold. So when we know that people around us can handle the thing better, we can keep quiet and let them do the handle the conflict. So that's one area these are the areas we can avoid, apply avoidance as a strategy, and it will be good. To accommodate, we can accommodate when the issue is not as important as to us as it is to the other person. We realize that we are wrong, you can avoid, you can accommodate. Okay, I've heard you. When the time is not right to resolve the issue, and you will prefer to simply build credit for the future, let me build my time. I'm not talking now. Some other time. Maybe we are still collecting some facts. Okay, maybe we are not clear on some issues. We want to be clear. You can decide not to talk you can revert to accommodate until the issue becomes clearer to us. When there's harmony in the relationship, and it's extremely important for us to keep that relationship, we can also accommodate. Okay. And for compromise, it leads to quick solutions, quick fix. Yes, it may not be completely satisfactory to the parties, but it is good when people of relative equal power are committed to goals. When people of equal power are committed to achieving same goals, when we can save time by reaching intermediate solution of parts of complex issues. If you have resolved part of the issue, we can compromise and do the other. Then the goals are moderately important. When the goals we want to achieve are important and we are committed to it, we can compromise a few things. And do that. The other party will also compromise. We can compete when the outcome is very important and requires immediate attention. We can compete, we can enforce, we can force, we can fight. When it is most appropriate, when we know we are right, when the time is short, when we want to stand for our rights, when integrity is at stake, when moral is at stake, we can defend morals, we can defend integrity, we can defend our rights. So confrontation can be fine at that moment. But for collaboration, when there is trust, when there's mutual trust, it is okay to collaborate. When it is important for all sides to buy into the outcome, when the outcome is very important to us, we can choose collaboration. When the people involved are willing to change their thinking as more information is found and new options are suggested. So like we said, collaboration takes time. It takes digging and digging and digging. And so as you dig, you get more facts. And as more facts are coming up, it makes some people sometimes to change their mind. Like, for instance, when two parties have waited for themselves for too long and are now able to talk. And I say, oh, I never knew you went through all this. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, and so when they're able to talk about their past, about their pains, the other person will feel so bad that I've allowed my colleague to go through this because of our conflict. So they feel sorry, they feel remorse for each other. And so they are willing to jointly find new solutions, to shift their positions, to solve the conflict. And so when the parties need to work through animosity and hard feelings, so these are the situations that we can apply each of these conflict handling styles. But for these survey results show generally the percentage of people the application of these conflict styles. The survey result that I'm showing now shows the percentage of people that adopt these conflict styles. For avoidance, we have 13% people avoid and use avoidance as style of handling conflicts. For competition, we have 22%. For compromise, 35%. For accommodation, we have 6%. Collaboration, we have 24%. So I take it that for this class, this survey, we assume that it's correct. And for 24% of us use collaboration, 6% use accommodation, 35% use compromise, 22 use competition, and 13% use avoidance. So let's accommodate, let's open our arms, open our hearts to other styles. When we see people who use one style more, we also need to engage them so that we can, the idea is to be able to move up and down all this, above all, the Ubuntu appears to be the one that we would like to suggest that all of us, because Ubuntu comprises most of these strategies, the name of the community, in the sake of for the sake of the community, communal peace. So from the foregoing conclusion, it's evident that different strategies will be most appropriate for different situations. We have our default styles, but you can learn other appropriate strategy to each situation from this moment forward. It's learnable that we encourage ourselves to learn and unlearn and to keep learning and to keep learning. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know if anybody has questions or comments or stories to tell so that we can all learn from instances. Thank you very much. Hello, any comments, any question?
Hello?
Hello,
Yes,
Madam
sir.
Nora.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I just wanted to ask on also going through the African handling style. Is it something that is to be common? Like, I've not really had experience with that. I just maybe from games and other stories we've had where that involve the birds, like you said, and plants and animals to help judge the matter or resolve the conflict. But most times they really don't come out correctly or favor of the person who might should even stand a chance. But is it something that should be practiced or we should use? Is that something that we just asking?
I'm not sure I quite understood what you said, because your voice was quite low.
Okay. Okay, so let me come again. Can you hear me now?
Okay, this is better.
Okay, I said thank you for the beautiful presentation. I just wanted to ask in respect of the Ubuntu handling style. Like mostly it's the African traditional way of handling conflicts. But I'm not sure I have had an experience, but I'm just asking maybe from movies or stories we've heard, which you made mention of, sometimes involve birds, plants, and animals.
Okay.
Situations like that, is it a conflict? Is it a good way of conflict handling style? Because most times you notice or you watch or you hear people say this is supposed to be in favor of this person, but because the gods was on this person's side, sometimes it's not. For me, I don't think it's a good way of handling conflicts. just acting or saying you do.
Well, I don't know.
So
I think, okay, I still didn't hear you, but I think what you are saying is that, is it something we do these days? Or you want somebody to give an instance of how it was done in the olden days?
okay, it's not something like a practice, right?
Well,
Really, for me, it's not a good time of it.
well, we brought it in because what we have been learning, like we said, the first five are developed by the Western scholars. But we are saying that in Africa, we also have a template for managing conflict, which we seem not to observe again, which we seem to have forgotten. And that's the concept of Ubuntu, where we live as a community, where we see each other's problems as the communal problems, where we solve problems for the peace of the community, where when people are having issues, it affects the entire community. And so we are saying that is there, that we should continue our life as community. Like I said, before the Europeans came, we lived as a community of people. And so we did things in common. So, and we also resolve conflicts, like I say, in the African methods of resolving conflicts in a communal way, either in the parlor, in the family setting, in the community square, town square, or palace, the discourses, and everybody's happy that it has been resolved, and they'll be happy and they'll celebrate it. Okay. So it's just a reminder of what we have, our African value. It's a reminder that we also have this in Africa that we should pay attention to, that we should continue the communal living, or we should reactivate it, the communal living, such that we find it difficult to go into conflict because it will affect everybody. But these days we live individual lives. We are just like the Europeans, they're so individual, they're so personal, and they're so territorial. We have territories. In Africa, in the African system, there is no territory between individuals. The European style, there are territories. And that is why to manage conflict has become a bit challenging. So we are reminding ourselves about the African concept of Ubuntu, the language of peace, the language of community, the language of love to resolve conflict for communal peace. Thank you. Am I okay? Are you okay? Hello? Hello? Can you see my phone?
Hello, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Okay. So with this, if there are no other comments or questions to ask, I want to thank you very, very sincerely for your attention, for your time. I want to thank my friend, Professor, for bringing me on this platform. I also say, wish you happy listening, happy learning for the learning part of the program. See you some other time in the future. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Bless God. So, Madam Jemima, over to you.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir, for your time and for everything you've shared with us so far. We learned about the conflict handling styles, conflict management styles, and strategies as well. And Doctor gave us multiple examples, instances, and illustrations on where a lot of these handling styles were used and how best to go about them. He discussed the four main temperaments, the choleric, sanguine, and the rest. He also talked about assertiveness and cooperation, the positive and negative aspects of assertiveness and cooperation to all the conflict handling styles, and when to use them, when not to use them, the things to take into consideration before employing any conflict style. So thank you very much, sir. God bless you, sir. The time is 2 minutes after 11. So we'll be taking a 10-minute tea break and we'll be back by 11:12. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. See you in 10 minutes.